Jarrett Liebert put the lap together. It's the first World Championship pole position in the career of his World Championship career. Underway for the first time at Wild Horse Pass in the 2023 season, and Connor Barry almost went for a ride. Big flip for Trenton Briley, who went all sorts of up and over, but Connor Barry, the champ, somehow still on all four wheels, but 3 wide and under pressure as they funnel through turn number 2.
They all slam into each other in that airpin, and now they'll still be 2 wide going through turn number 3. Liebert and Delolmo pull away from the top 2. Swain's going to be in third. 3 wide back behind as Edmondson ends up in the middle. He'll cover off the one on the outside of Connor Barry. Alex Bergeron was caught in the middle, 3 wide there, as well as we've got more carnage in the back, but all Liebert and Delolmo up front.
4 laps complete, and once again, Connor Barry, running very bold and aggressive lines, finds himself in precarious situations, but he's gotten past Josh Fox in that Williams Esports machine, where Fox gets tangled up with Tom Grady and has caused a stack up at turn number 2. You can tell that these drivers have practiced because they are running all of these lines that give them these opportunities. I would say that for Connor Barry, ultimately 7th spot is not a bad place to be. Yes, if he got further forward, it's 2 points of position, but inverted and being at the front into that second race might be a little bit more important, I think, in the long-term strategy if you're thinking ahead into the championship fight, especially with Liebert, Swain and Blewett 1, 3 and 4. Liebert's pulling away 1.5 seconds clear of those behind. You can see the new livery as well for this year, the number 2 Sim Coach's car. And if you're wondering those numbers, how they're doled out, it's based on past performances. So the 24 drivers that competed in last year's championship earned the right to wherever they finished in the championship as their number. Those that did not compete in 2022 get then ranked behind them in terms of where they finished in the qualifying series. And so hypothetically, you'd expect the rookies with the high 20 numbers to not be up towards the front, has not been the case so far. We're going to have 9 laps complete, and we're going to have Connor Barry getting past Alex Bergeron, clearly not deciding that anything that I say is worth any merit. He just is a racer, wants to move forward.
And he is moving forward at rapid pace right now, Arjuna, as he is up to 6th. He's going to have a lot, I don't want to say tougher competition, because everybody in this field is tough to pass, but he's got Josh Edmondson in front. He's battled multiple championships with the Ford. Joel Blewett, one of the best rookies we've got in this field right now. Keaton Swain, Killian Delolmo, and Jarrett Liebert before he is up into the lead, as we see Bergeron and Fox. Now Nicholas Dachelet getting that cut line spot.
Fox made a mistake, and I don't know how he didn't tangle himself up with those in front. Bergeron very lucky there, and he's going to be seeing in his rearview mirror Fox at the inside of Dachelet and holding station for the time being. Gap at the front coming down slightly. Killian Delolmo trying to chase down Jarrett Liebert. Liebert's got a victory. Killian Delolmo's had a couple, and this was a stat that I mentioned when we were chatting before we went live. 29 drivers in total have competed in the series. 12 of them have victories. 17 of them have podiums. 27 of them have top 10s. What a competitive and wild series this has always been. Getting ready to see the penultimate lap of this race, with Jarrett Liebert continuing just to stretch the legs at the front. Excuse me, the final lap of this race. White flag in hand, 1.8 the margin, and Jarrett Liebert continues to pull away while Keaton Swain continues to look in the rearview mirror. But I don't necessarily think that we're locked and loaded for 8th either, where Josh Fox continues to feel the pressure from behind.
Coming to the checkered flag, and this is also a battle for that invert as Justin K makes a mistake, tumbles down the order. Josh Fox still has that invert pole.
Jarrett Liebert was the surprise pole position, and he looks as surprised as anyone to have grabbed a 2nd iRacing World Championship Off-Road Series win. It is a glorious day for Team Rowe, coming off the back of the 1 and 2. The job's not done though yet. One more race still yet to go. It almost looks like it's a bit overwhelming for Jarrett Liebert there. And so let's grab a look at the results. Liebert once again grabs the win, and like Josh mentioned, the first repeat winner of 2023. You've got Killian Delomo behind, who adds to what's been a good start for him, at least in one half of the Delomo camp, not enjoying the success. Championship leader Keaton Swain continues just to accumulate those points, while Joe Blewett able to work his way up forward to 4th spot. Josh Edmondson 5th, while Connor Barry had a wild ride in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine. He is 6th position at the end, with Alex Bergeron, Josh Fox, Nicholas Dachelet, and Tyson Miller the top 10. One more race before the halfway mark is reached. It's 4 drivers that continue to stretch their legs, but an opportunity for others to make their mark on the championship. It's Fox and Bergeron at the front, and once again, more than 20,000 horsepower up in the air, and it crosses the line. Bergeron to the inside, challenging the Williams Esports driver and forcing Fox into submission. He'll lose momentum, not just down to 2nd, but potentially out of the top 5. He'll be swarmed on the inside, and now goes up and over. Misery for Connor Barry as well, as the defending champ lands on all 4 wheels and continues rolling.
Keaton Swain was involved in that, Arjuna. He is now down all the way into, he's still dropping positions into the 14th. He's 14th as we have more carnage going through turn number 4. A lot of contact in the back of the field, but Keaton Swain is down to 13th. Connor Barry is battling for the race lead with Alex Bergeron. Josh Edmondson fell way down the order. I can't even find him on my timing screen right now, as we've got a battle for the race lead.
Up in the air once again, come to the end of lap number 3 and try and get to the inside, but not going to be able to do so. Once again running off of the berm, and Barry tries to pinch inside. Bergeron slams it shut. Watch for Blewett in the queue as well. It's 3 cars somewhat starting to stretch their legs. Delomo might be brought with them, but Rafoss, Plumley, Wellhouse, and then Quintin Delomo and Nicholas Dachelet continue to battle. Looking to the outside goes Connor Barry, and as Bergeron makes a mistake, Joe Blewett fires it up the inside. 3 wide out of the final corner. Yes, Bergeron holds on, but now with Blewett looking up his inside.
Blewett saw the perfect opportunity to get that race lead, and he will get it. He covers off the spot of Alex Bergeron. Connor Barry on the inside will set it up for turn 2. He goes to the inside. 3 wide is now Blewett's in the middle, and Connor Barry to the race lead.
But this is where outside switches back. Bergeron has the title line through the corner, blocks off Connor Barry, but not Joel Blewett.
They all send over the whoops. Blewett gets loose coming off of him. Side by side now for the race lead as Alex Bergeron is going to take it over the jump.
One mistake, and now can Blewett hold off Connor Barry, who also slides it to the inside, but leaves just that little bit of room for Blewett to run off the berm and hold 2nd spot. But Lee changed hands, and not through a pass, really through a mistake that led to the opportunity.
Now this entire lead battle has just gotten flipped on its head as Bergeron goes wide again. That'll open the door for Blewett. Does Bergeron go wide just like the 27 did last time by? He goes wide, but so does Blewett, so does Barry back there in 3rd. No change. They come across the line again. Now 6 laps remaining.
We revisit this track in the 2nd half of the season. We revisit every single track. The drivers know what they're in for, and they will know how hard they've got to push. White flag in hand, 1 more lap to go for Alex Bergeron at the front of the field. Killian Delomo still 2nd, Joel Blewett 3rd, Barry 4th, Rafoss 5th. Closing moment, battle maybe behind for Keaton Swain to work on forward.
Keaton Swain has been marching his way up through the field the entire night since the start of race number 2. He's going to go for more spots. He's got a group of 3 ahead of him, but it's all Alex Bergeron for the race lead.
2 wins for Bergeron in 2022, but it's been a disappointing 2023. Finally, he reinserts himself into the conversation. It's Alex Bergeron that wins at the Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. Bergeron from 2nd took advantage of the battles behind, and the Canadian makes his way first to the line. Delomo 2nd is going to be quite happy, I think, with the fact that he's got 2 podiums to speak of today. Simon Feigl is going to be smiling from the land down under. Joel Blewett, after a slightly disappointing qualifying, able to get some solid points on the board. And the champ, Connor Barry, after a slightly disappointing race 1, very much makes up for it in race 2. His teammate Jacob Rafoss in the Nitro Circus sim racing machine is behind him to round out the top 5, while Jarrett Liebert, race 1 winner, gets up to 6th in front of Christopher Plumley, Nicholas Wellhouse, Keaton Swain, and Josh Fox, with Swain dropping to 9th with drama on the opening lap. It's Josh Edmondson and then Nicholas Dachelet 11th and 12th positions, with Trenton Briley in front of the Team Rogue number 17 of Cody Retzlaff, Tom Grady, Parker Retzlaff, Justin Kay, Connor Parisi, and then the Millers, Tyson in front of Terry to round out your top 20. Hard charges for the likes of Grady and Retzlaff +7 respectively, but for Keith Jeffrey lost 2 to be in 21st, while Dalomo and King, 2 DNFs in the race, 1 2 laps down, 1 13 laps down. Officially halfway done with the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, and it's time to have some fun, to let our hair down, and to have an exhibition here at the Crandon Short Track. Welcome back to the iRacing Esports Network and RaceBot TV for the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Delighted to have your company once again as we return to the big house, but this time to the short configuration. My name once again is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside myself, Joshua Lee gets ready to call the racing action. And Josh, we've had 4 electric rounds so far, and now we make our way into the halfway mark of the championship. Our World Championship drivers have an off week. For the All-Star drivers, that is not the case. Points will be on the line as they switch on up to the Pro 4 truck beginning today.
They run for points tonight. The pro guys are going to have the fun later on, but all these all-stars are going to have points on the line tonight. And you mentioned it, Arjuna, going from the Pro 2 Lite to the Pro 4. I'm excited to see what these drivers can do because we have seen some exciting racing in the first 4 rounds, points-paying rounds of the World Championship with these Pro 4s. Let's see what the all-stars can do in the All-Star Invitational.
And so let's run you down through that schedule because, of course, like we mentioned, this is that transition point for the All-Star drivers as they don't go to the Pro 2. That's what the World Championship drivers have instead. Pro 4 for these drivers. And, of course, we can return to the 4 tracks that we've already seen as we head on into August and we'll crown not just our iRacing Off-Road Championship Series winner, but, of course, as well, our All-Star Invitational winner as well. That's the look at the schedule, the cars that they're having to drive with as well. And, of course, now 5 races with 900 horsepower and the ability to dig into the dirt and hopefully battle that a little bit more. We've already seen Crandon in its full configuration, 1.5 miles. We've chopped off half the course now and we return to 4 corners to 0.7 miles. Joshua Lee, talk us through this alternate layout at Crandon.
Well, 4 corners is almost cheapening it a little bit because that entire back corner, turn 2, is that entire back sweeping corner that you can see where all of the track is cut off right after the start-finish line, right after the whoop section there. They'll take a hard left-hand corner, cut off that entire back straightaway in the hairpin, and then dip out right at the Red Bull jump and into that final 3 corners. It's much shorter, much faster. You think Wild Horse Pass, I think of Crandon Short when I think of quick tracks that these Pro 4s and Pro 2s will be racing on this season.
It's the first time that we get to see the short layout in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series as well, and so it means the drivers have something new with which to take a look at. And of course, something new that we can talk about today is the fact that with several of our drivers, including Brake Reynolds, focusing on the Firecracker 400 live on eracer.gg, we have some new faces that join the fun today, including the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series director, Chris Leone. So looking forward to seeing him out there on track. But I think one thing that, Josh, you and I are looking forward to seeing as well is the return of the one and only Bo Albert to dirt competition on iRacing.
I am so excited to see him get back behind the wheel. He's under the pro class of the kind of pro-am style classing that the All-Star Invitational has. I'm excited to see what he can do. And look at that onboard. We get the face of Bo Albert down under in Australia, and we get the footwork.
It's an impressive look, and of course you can see the former iRacing Rallycross World Championship competitor surely looking to be part of the fun with Luke Knupp, Zachary Trapkin, who will continue to be the benchmark for that pro class because, of course, now they've got some new fun with which I'm sure to work. One thing that I think, I'm not sure if you called out already, Josh, but with this alternate layout that we have, no land rush start as we often look forward to at Crandon. Instead, it'll be 2x2 rolling to the green.
And yes, we do get rid of that land rush start, but where the restart zone is for these trucks is kind of going to be a little bit all over the place. The pace truck is going to pull off before turn 3, and then they'll have to go through turn 3. And right here, what Robert's going through is turn 4. So it's going to be interesting to see where the leader chooses to go within that parameter, because land rush start is simple. Standing start, go green, you go. This is going to have a lot of advantage for the leader coming to the green flag, and right now that's Luke Knupp, who sits on the pole position here for the All-Star Invitational.
And he has just improved, by the way, to a 41.962, only 300s quicker than Zachary Drapkin. Scott Kerr third, Bo Albert fourth, and then Trevor Thiel in fifth, and Travis Sollenberger rounding out your top 6 positions. 1 second splits the front 8 cars, and of course, don't forget that we will go for a first race, fully invert the field for the second race, and send them out there once again to deliver maximum excitement.
And just a couple of seconds remaining in qualifying. Knupp, Drapkin, Scott Kerr, another very quick off-road driver, and Bo Albert admittedly looking a little bit rusty, 3/10 back from the top spot.
Here's a look at how they will line up, though, for the first of the 2 main events in this exhibition at the Crandon Short Track. First time in the Pro 4 truck this year, and Luke Knupp will bring us to the green. He'll be alongside Zachary Drapkin in that red line All 56 that has become a staple at the front of this championship. Scott Kerr represents the Nitro Circus sim racing team, with Blake Reynolds missing in action. Bo Albert alongside him, with Trevor Thiel, Travis Sollenberger in 5th and 6th positions. Watch out for the iRacing trucks as the iRacing staff members look to have some fun. Wes Graham and the number 88 will line up alongside Leo Moore, a previous race winner this year, with Mia Rose and Adam Briggs, the rest of your top 10. Zach Christie in the 41 lines up alongside Chris Leone in the number 40 iRacing truck, with our final starter, Brian Zabelski, lining up in hopefully not unlucky 13th, with 2 seconds splitting the 13 trucks. So, I was going to say that we don't have the land rush start, but that view from up above looks very, very interesting. Don't forget, if you are just joining us for the very first time, new memberships are 40% off. Head on to iRacing.com to get started on your journey to the checkered flag. Josh, we didn't expect land rush starts, but I guess we can look forward to it now.
I think I was slightly gaslit, because every time I remember running Crandon Short, it has been rolling starts, so not sure what the league admins had in mind at the time, but land rush start, perfect for us. This is much better than a rolling start. I think we can both solidly agree, Arjuna.
We can send them 10 wide down in towards that opening corner, which of course is going to be quite an interesting run for the couple of cars on the second row. We saw 13 on the grid. We'll point out that Aero, Keenan Kusin, is joining us. You can see his purple truck on the very outside of that second row, the 14th and final qualifier here today. Once again, just the cars lining up and getting ready to rumble. For the very first time, we will send them out in the Pro 4 truck, and something that, Josh, maybe requires less skill, but it's going to require more racecraft to come out on top.
Well, less skill, I think, is also a little bit subjective, Arjuna, because it requires a different set of skill. You got to keep momentum up in these Pro 4s. Try to spin those tires the least you can.
Well, here we go. The clock gets set to 10 minutes. The engines roar in symphony, and we are underway for our exhibition at Crandon Short. Already, Aero has gone way to driver's left. He's decided he wants to try and swoop his way into that opening corner. Single file at the front, with Christie able to lead from Luke Knupp as they slide their way through that opening corner. Up and over the jump they will go and funnel into the left, side by side for second as they run through that opening sector.
Luke Knupp grabs that early lead. Here comes Zachary Drapkin to the inside of Scott Kerr as Kerr goes wide. Next level racing colors on that 84 is the 06 of Bo Albert, dives to the inside. Side by side for 30. Here comes Mia Rose with a run up the inside, with Travis Sollenberger getting in there, and one truck's flipped over. That's Scott Kerr in the 84.
And he's not going to land on all 4 wheels, and so as we get to the checkered flag, or the start line to officially start the first lap, it is with one car already back in pit lane. It is Knupp that converts from not the pole position initially on the jump, was able to get the lead back into that opening corner, through the opening couple of corners. Timing is going to update on that left-hand side, and you'll see the running order, but you can see that with the Pro 4s, it's not that easy to break away in comparison to the Pro 2 Lite.
No, it's going to be the drivers being able to reel in the leader much, much easier, especially in this All-Star Invitational, as we see now Scott Kerr falling down the timing tower as he is in the pit lane. Knupp, Drapkin, Albert, Rose, and Teal, the top 5. And right behind, Travis Sollenberger in the 66, one of the series admins, taking out a fun lap around here in the All-Star Invitational, along with Chris Leone running back in 12th.
End of that first official lap as we cycle through that shortcut and swoop our way back to the technical final sector of the lap. It's a little bit different, and I think in some ways changes where your passing opportunities come, because that jump up through what is turn 6 on the regular layout, not necessarily as much speed being able to be carried through there, and so you got to maybe set up this penultimate corner or calamity corner to make moves happen.
That is always the corner that kind of seems to be the main passing opportunity, even at Crandon Long. I don't think cutting off that back straightaway, cutting off the hairpin, it really only cuts out that braking zone of the hairpin, which is a good passing opportunity. But now they just got to make it all work through turn 3 as we look on board with series admin Chris Leone running in P12. I don't think the showing that he was exactly looking for, but perfect spot for the invert start of race number 2.
Yep, of course, like we said, another 10 minutes for the second race and fully inverted. It's always interesting to see the faster drivers have to carve their way through the field. Chris Leone does a bit of a Ross Chastain there as he runs himself against the wall, but he's got a pretty good view of those in front squabbling. You got Keenan Kusin, Zach Christie, and then Leo Mora for a moment going 3 wide. Very wide runs Zach Christie, forcing Keenan Kusin to drop down into 10th position. Pro 4 trucks mean you can maybe spend a bit more time full throttle. Kusin gets barged wide, and here comes Wes the Mess to try and get on through.
That was Adam Briggs in the 777. That got clear of that 3 wide. Is now Zach Christie and Keenan Kusin fight for 9th. Wes Graham right behind in P11. And this squabble back here running about P8. This is 8th on down to 11th. Honestly, they're slowing each other down a little bit, giving opportunity for Chris Leone to catch up, but Leo Morris flipped over in 3.
And at the front, you got Zachary Drapkin and Luke Knupp that are going side by side. Whoa! And the red line all machine forces Luke Knupp the long way around. And Knupp's going to somehow hold on to that. But the two showing just what this track can all be about. Kusin definitely runs himself into the gantry.
Keenan Kusin gonna fall back to P11, but what on earth happened in that battle for the race lead? As now Drapkin fights Albert for 2nd. Bo Albert sends it up the inside in turn 2. He knows how to use these Pro 4s well, Arjuna. We saw that last year. Let's see what he can do against the 2 drivers that ran nothing but All-Star Invitationals last year, Knupp and Drapkin.
We're going to reach the halfway mark of this race, not this time by, but the next time by. 5 minutes will be left, and we will have had 6 laps in the book. So maybe 6 more with which to play after that. It'll all depend on how much they want to squabble. Top 3 are starting to break their way from the rest of those behind. Travis Sollenberger sits in a very tidy 4th position, but Mia Rose has been able to climb to 6th spot.
We always talk about the great runs that Mia Rose has had in the All-Star Invitational. No different tonight at Crandon Short, running in P6 as we look on board. That Christie gets by Wes Graham behind us. Now Wes Graham is up and over, gets the save, but he was on his lid, rolling there for a moment. Back to P11 for the number 88.
That was a bit messy for Wes the Mess. See if he's going to be able to catch up to Leone, Kusin, and Christie and get back into the fights where he was. There's that 03 that a lap ago was finding itself a little too close to the gantry. No such qualms this time by as we jump on board with Keenan Kusin in the number 03 machine and cycle through. Again, that shortcut you can just see as they carry the speed on through. Then they've got to cut back in, sweep that car tight to the apex, and then stomp on the power and carry the speed into the jump.
Take a look at this battle between Zach Christie and Keenan Kusin. As Kusin right behind goes a bit wide. Christie slow on the inside, but not going to get that momentum. It's very difficult to change lanes and keep momentum as the braking zone hits for turn 3. Keenan Kusin goes up to the top side, trying to cut back down. As I was mentioning, Arjuna, when you kind of let the truck go up the racetrack in turn 2 and kind of try and punch the throttle, doesn't work as well as it would in another vehicle if you're looking for clean track. You almost lose a bit of momentum if you try and switch lanes mid-corner.
it's not an easy configuration to pass at. I think that is definitely for sure, and some people will think more horsepower, closer racing. Not necessarily the case. Lower horsepower, you can maybe run a little bit closer. Kusen's going to get the shoulders out and barge his way through on Christie, opening up the gap to Mia Rose in front, and now watching up the inside as Christie tries to fight back.
And Keenan Kusen goes way to the outside in turn 3. He'll let Christie go by, but look at the momentum. The slingshot down back to the inside, and Keenan Kusen is going to get 8th place back if I can learn how to talk for once in this race, Arjuna.
They will still squabble through Calamity Corner. Kusen now will switch back to the inside. Great fighting going on here, but it's all the way down for 8th position. Up towards the front, Luke Knupp and Zachary Drapkin now starting to break away from Bo Albert into the closing couple of laps of this race. Still watching as Christie and Kusen squabble door to door through that tight left-hand corner. Kusen rides himself into the wall, but now holds 8th spot.
This battle is going great for 8th as Kusen holds on to the spot. Knupp with a half-second lead up in the front, and compared to Crandon, we look at over 1 minute lap times normally at Crandon Long, Arjuna, in these Pro 4s. We're looking at 42 seconds pretty much as best lap times all up and down the field. They're reaching about 43 seconds now as the track and tires wear in. We go on board with Zachary Drapkin. Not a lot more time to try and get by Luke Knupp, but into turn 3, he went for that move, can't get there in time.
And in the red line, all 56, I think we've seen him win a race every single round so far, such as being the speed that we've seen out of that 56. Knupp came into this one with less, I think, experience of the dirt refresh that, of course, these drivers have been very much having to get to grips with. Just before the start of the season, Josh, major rework to the dirt, and it's very much changed the way that you drive these Pro 4 and Pro 2 trucks.
And I'm excited to see what the pro drivers can do in those Pro 2 trucks when they get inside of those for tonight's exhibition race here at Crandon Short, because we haven't really seen that. They've qualified in those trucks in the qualifying series to get into this series and get into the Pro 4s, but we haven't seen them race competitively in those Pro 2s or competitively in an exhibition race for that matter.
Yep, exhibition race, I think what we're calling this one. Calling it an All-Star Week makes it too confusing with the All-Stars out there on track right now. 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go at the line. It's 2 more laps then for Knupp and Drapkin to fight at the front.
I believe we will have 1 more lap after this one. We will. So this is 2 laps to go with nothing but Zachary Drapkin taking up the rear view mirror of Luke Knupp. He can try and go for a move in turn 3, but he's going to have to dive for it. Not willing to do that just yet. Stays right in those tire tracks. Turn 4 also might be a passing opportunity, but if anywhere there's a passing opportunity where you need to get the bumper out, Arjuna, it's turn 4, because everybody plants their right side tires right there in the apex of that corner. So we've got 1 lap to go.
So 1 final lap, and like we said, technically we're calling it 4 corners, but they all just flow into one another. If Drapkin wants to have a chance, he's going to have to go aggressive. Plenty of dirt on the windscreen, but as they cycle over the jump in through what is turn 6 on the full layout, it's just 2 corners with which to work, and Drapkin's 3 car lengths back.
Going into the final 2 corners. Will it be Knupp? Will it be Drapkin? Drapkin needs to send a dive. Is he willing to send a dive? He gets to the door. He makes contact. Side by side for the win in race number 1 as they go over the jump for the final time.
Into Calamity Corner. Knupp gets a little bit squirrely on the landing of the jump. Drapkin's going to try and sweep up underneath him and through the final corner. Zachary Drapkin and Luke Knupp deliver a photo finish where Knupp, by 0.03 of a second, grabs the win.
Unbelievable finish. Drapkin tried to go for the over-under. He tried to slingshot it to the inside. He did not have enough momentum when they came across the line. But what a finish to race number 1 in an All-Star Invitational, Arjuna. Is that the closest finish we've had in series history?
5 thousandths is what it got updated to by the iRacing timing. That might very well be the closest finish we will ever see. Previously, 0.03 of a second at Bark River in 2022. Drapkin and Knupp always know how to put a show on. There's a look at the results as we will cycle through what was a rather intriguing first race of the night. Bo Albert just behind Knupp and Drapkin to grab the final step on the podium on his return to the All-Stars and the dirt. Travis Sollenberger will represent iRacing quite well up there in fourth, with Trevor Teal, Adam Briggs, Mia Rose, Keenan Kusin, Wes Graham and Zach Christie. The rest of the top 10, just 4 more cars that ended up cycling their way to the line. Leo Mora, Chris Leone, and then Brian Zabelski. Scott Kerr flipped himself at the start, but did end up finishing, albeit 3 laps down. Zachary Drapkin, 42.241 on the second lap of the race, the fastest lap of that opening 10 minutes. I tell you what, I cannot wait. We get 5 minutes for which these drivers can now warm up. Joshua Lee, I don't think we can not talk to Zachary Drapkin about that final corner attempted pass. Zach, that was very, very close. You gave it your all, 5,000th at the line.
Yeah, that was definitely a battle. Me and Luke had some great racing that entire time, and I knew I had to set him up in the last corner and tried to go wide and go low.
I think we lost Zach's audio there for a second. There, he's going to try and fix it.
Hello.
There we go. Got you loud and clear. I mean, Zach, ultimately, though, we lost you halfway through the answer there, but Pro 4 versus Pro 2 light. Let's now talk about 400 horsepower versus 900 horsepower, 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive. Talk us through the technical differences.
It's all throttle control. It's literally going into the corner and being smooth, because when I go into it, I want to have as much corner grip as possible, because you could just smash on it and blow the tires off. With the Pro 2, you don't really have that power. So I'm just going in the corner, modulating my brakes, trying to get into the corner and just being smooth. And hey, you saw the gap we made up, so I know we got the speed coming from the back, so I'm stoked for this, because me and Luke are going to battle all the way to the finish of this one now.
Yes, and we're looking forward to you carving your way through the fully inverted field. Zach, you always put on a show for us. Go well in that Redline All 56 in the second race of the night.
Thanks, guys.
Always great to be able to drag the drivers in instantly to get a reaction there. What a smile on the face of Zachary Drapkin, Josh.
What a finish. I mean, I'd have a smile on my face too, even if I lost that race like Drapkin did. I mean, just photo finish at the line. Couldn't script it better than that, Arjuna.
Yes, Hollywood would struggle to find a battle more dramatic than that to the line. We're going to hopefully get them carving their way through. One thing that Zach had told us a week ago, Josh, when we talked to him about what he thought about the change between Pro 2 Lite and Pro 4, is that he actually thought, much like he described there with the throttle control, that Pro 4 trucks are more difficult, which maybe sounds somewhat counterintuitive when you think 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive. I guess fundamentally it just comes down to how much power we are talking about.
The power in these Pro 4s, admittedly, it's the same as the Pro 2s that we're going to see later on tonight when our World Championship competitors run in the exhibition race that we've got here at Crandon Short. But the Pro 2 lights that these all-star invitational drivers have been dealing with, less power and 2-wheel drive. Now they've got so much more horsepower. They've got 4-wheel drive, and I think we're seeing these all-stars really use that to their advantage. I mean, how many times did we see Keenan Kusin try the over-under with the amount of momentum he can build from those 4 tires digging into the dirt? I don't think we're done seeing that tonight or the rest of the All-Star season.
So this is officially the 4th time we have visited Crandon in iRacing Off-Road Championship Series history. I think it's the first time, Josh, that we've seen drivers land in the gantry on the run-up into the final quarter. And we didn't get that just once in the race. We got that twice or thrice as Leo Mora has a bit of a spill.
I am just so excited to see what's going to happen here in race number 2, Arjuna, because we saw a lot of exciting moments in race number 1. But the first race that these drivers had in these Pro 4s, race number 2 is going to be exciting. And land rush start too, admittedly, unexpectedly. I thought we couldn't even run the land rush start because we weren't running that configuration of Crandon. Guess we can at Crandon Short, so we get to see 3 more land rush starts tonight too, and a Pro 2 land rush start.
True, we'll have the 700 horsepower 2-wheel drive machines rolling their way down the land rush start. I will also say that when it comes to the Pro 4s for these All-Stars, I said we're missing Blake Reynolds, who's off running in the Firecracker 400 live on eracer.gg, and Nate Stewart, also one of those drivers that we've seen be pretty quick in the first half of the campaign, and going to be looking forward to seeing how they transition over to this bigger, a badder Pro 4 machine. Fully inverting the field, we will now send them out for 10 more minutes. The 14 All-Stars get ready to do battle once again here at the Crandon International Raceway. We'll return at the end of August to crown a champion. Today, it is very much just about bragging rights in a exhibitional race for the Championship Series drivers. Points are still on the line, though, for the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Let's run you down through the starting grid where, after flipping on the opening lap of race number 1, Scott Kerr hopes that he can go a few more corners. He'll be alongside Brian Zabelski, while Chris Leone and Leo Morris line up on row number 2. Zach Christie and then Wes Gray in 5th and 6th positions, with Keenan Kusin, Mia Rose, Adam Briggs, and then Trevor Teal. The rest of that land rush, 10 wide front row. Travis Sollenberger, Bo Albert, 11th and 12th positions will be on the inside. Not necessarily the worst place to be on the run into turn 5. And then behind them, 13th and 14th positions, the two drivers that were split by 5,000ths of a second after the last 10 minutes of racing, Josh, and they're hoping to do it once more.
One more time for the All-Star Invitational tonight, but then we've got the exhibition afterwards, and lining up on this land rush start. We talk about it every time we go to Crandon, Arjuna, that it really is anybody's game once you go down into turn number 1, starting 10 trucks wide.
If you're just joining us, you like the look of what you're seeing. Every day is race day on iRacing. Head on to iRacing.com. New memberships are 40% off, and join us on this dirt road ladder. You can race at some of the same tracks and using these same machines as you see out on track today, and so always a good opportunity for you to go and be able to replicate this type of racing. It is a very, very unique combination of skill through the dirt, but also understanding racecraft and being able to work with these 14 trucks alongside. I'm going to throw you on the spot, Josh. Who comes out on top in the second race of the night?
Zachary Drapkin, Luke Knupper, Bo Albert. Can I give 3 answers? One of those 3.
I'll allow you the 3 answers, but now the problem is if it's not one of those 3, oh boy.
Okay, I have a solid chance with those 3 names, so I'm going to lock in those 3 names. But if we see a surprise, I'll give you a surprise pick too, Trevor Teal.
Okay, well, once again, the engines roar in symphony. Fully inverted grid maybe means less here with the land rush start for the second race of the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational at Crandon Short. Great start from Bo Albert as he tries to get on through. He makes contact, though, with potentially Adam Briggs in the 777 Next Level Racing machine. It's down through that opening corner, though, where it's a tidy start for the most part. Leo Mora watches in the rearview mirror as contact over the jump behind him. 4 wide they will go. Bo Albert doesn't go up and over somehow. It might have been Zachary Drapkin in the red line all 56.
They made 4 wide work over the jump. Leo Mora ends up backing down in P14. We're 3 wide now, heading into turn number 3 for the first time before they take the official green flag. Scott Kerr's going to get away with the lead. Chris Leone gets away in second.
Goodness gracious me, this is stacking up behind as the top 2 try and break away. Look at the pinballs that they are throwing in through Calamity Corner. Officially starting the opening lap with Chris Leone momentarily scored in the race lead.
That's going to cycle its way on through as Scott Kerr does have the official race lead, and now that updates on the timing tower. Then it's Leone, then Keenan Kusin, then Sollenberger, then Trevor Teal. How about my out-of-the-box pick? I said it'd be a wild card. It's not a wild card with Trevor Teal.
Well, you picked 4 out of the 14 drivers, so you've got good odds of at least one of them being able to work on through. Leo Mora, Zabelski, and Albert are the final 3 cars as they run. It's been rather interesting for them. Sollenberger up the inside of Keenan Kusin. It's iRacing.com staff members currently running 2nd and 3rd in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational.
Sollenberger protects that spot, but here comes Kusin as he's going to get loose in the middle of the racetrack. That'll push Trevor Teal to the back bumper of the 03 through turn 2. This is the long, sweeping left-hander that admittedly it's harder to pass in the Pro 4s here because they have a 4-wheel drive, because they've got so much more speed and momentum through that corner. Pro 2s, I'm expecting a lot more passing there, Arjuna, than we're seeing in these Pro 4s.
Scott Kerr is starting to break away at the front. He's 2.3, 2.4 clear of Leone as they cycle in through the Calamity Corner, final corner on the lap. Sollenberger and Leone will go door to door up and over the line. Kerr's going to be loving this as they continue to cost each other time behind. Leone holds on Sollenberger for the time being, but the up and under will be attempted.
Side by side between Sollenberger and Leone. Sollenberger gets through in the 66, pushing Leone back to the 03 of Kuzin. They were side by side. They were middle 3 wide. Now they go back to 2x2 with the 2 iRacing series admins making contact. And Leone's around. He'll collect Trevor Teal. And now collecting Wes Graham. The 5 of Luke Knup's involved as well.
Knupp might have been able to squeak through just with relatively minor damage to the momentum that he was carrying. Let's not forget, in the All-Star Invitational, damage is off. They are encouraged to bang fenders with one another. Up and over the jump, Keenan Kusin loses out once again to Travis Sollenberger. Now 4-second splits first and second spot. A big lead for Scott Kerr with 7 minutes to hold on to a race victory.
4 minutes of a lead, by the way, and he just had bad luck in race number 1. I've seen him race before as he runs in the Nitro Circus number 84. He's got speed. We're on board with Keenan Kusin trying to improve on the current podium finish that they've got working to the inside, looking for the spot on Sollenberger, but here comes Adam Briggs in the 777, another one of these off-road veterans that admittedly might not be the fastest at times, but it has more experience than I think a good amount of the World Championship competitors when it comes to these Pro 4s.
So, in terms of lap times, last time by, Scott Kerr did a 42.41H. Sollenberger did a 42.95. So, even with the fighting, they're not that much slower now behind, and maybe the gap will start to equalize slightly. Drapkin, by the way, has been unable to really work his way through the field. He's only gotten up to 9th spot. Luke Knupp, on the other hand, is up to 6th and now working on the back of Chris Leone.
Chris Leone has a good run going if he can hold on to P5. He's just trying to play defense right now, hold on to that track position best he can. But when you've got Luke Knupp behind you, it's very easy to make a mistake, and he'll go wide in the S2 Motorsport 40 machine. And now Luke Knupp goes on through, taking over that top 5. He's on a solid charge right now, Arjuna, but 5 minutes left. I don't think he's got enough time to catch up to Scott Kerr, who still has a 4-second lead.
I think that's asking for a bit too much, but in the onboard view from Bo Albert, as we watch the dance of the feet on the pedals, you're watching just there's not much brake application. It's that throttle modulation that Drapkin was talking about earlier. Not quite 3 wide in towards the penultimate corner, but Albert's going to try and maybe get a little bit tight to the apex as they slide their way on through. Big sends being attempted there. Albert's able to clear himself on Trevor Teal for a moment, but it's Drapkin that gets up in front of West the Mess into Calamity Corner.
And they're still going around. They're still making contact. That's right in front of Bo Albert as we look on board. No, just stone cold face there, Arjuna. Just like, yeah, this is happening. Wes Graham's going to go for a couple of flips, but hey, I'm picking up spots. I'm just not going to show any emotion on the face. None.
The thing for Bo Albert is it's hit or miss when I'm commentating on him. He either has pretty bad and wretched luck, or he ends up winning. Fortunately, we've broken that cycle so far. A 3rd place is not a bad finish by any means. So I think Bo Albert can no longer blame me for any misfortune.
This is the first race you've called of his that he's just somewhat okay. Like good, decent finishes, not like great or terrible.
Yes, those that watch the 2021 iRacing Rallycross World Championship will know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right. I was helping y'all out for that one, I remember.
Yeah, we will hopefully get to chat with Bo. It's going to be interesting to hear what his thoughts are on this Pro 4 truck, because let's not forget, some of the Rallycross drivers, when the series came to a close, did decide to cross over. Jacob Rafos, of course. Killian Dallomo has been impressive so far in 2023. I'm curious what Bo Albert thinks about it now, because I'm sure once you get behind the wheel, those competitive urges will surely get back.
I think he's feeling a bit of that right now. As look up the road as we've got Zachary Drapkin and Zach Christie going side by side. The next level racing number 41 of Christie all over the back bumper of Drapkin up in front. And another one of these technically pro drivers when it comes to Zachary Drapkin, running in the pro class here of the Pro-Am All-Star Invitational. 41 is Zach Christie. First time we're seeing him this season running in the Am class.
Yep, we're going to hopefully get some of the esports drivers back for the next week and for the final 4 rounds in the Pro 4 truck. Blake Reynolds, Nate Stewart amongst those that we would wish the best of luck for the Firecracker 400, but also wish that we will see them when we begin our returns to the 4 tracks that we have as the main championship series schedule for the championship series drivers. Drapkin has, well, In stark contrast to Luke Canup being unable to find moves as easy to make. He's on the outside and now very much going the long way around and trying to cut back underneath Chris Leone.
He is right on that back bumper, but where is he going to go for the move? Can't go anywhere. Leone goes wide. He almost hits the outside wall, but doesn't. Drapkin's almost just buying his time right behind the 40 of Leone. He gives him a shove into the corner. I don't think he was expecting that one.
I think Chris braked a little bit earlier than Drapkin was anticipating, and now as they cycle up over into the final corner, I think Drapkin around the outside is going to try and do what he did to Luke Canup to try and rip away the victory. Did not work out at the end of the first race, but this time he's able to squeak on through into 6th position. Less than 2 minutes ago, so we're into the final 3 or so laps. Scott Kerr still leads by 5 seconds from Travis Sollenberger, but now Sollenberger loses second to Luke Canup.
Second place goes the way of the 5, but he's got 5 seconds to try and make up in about 2 laps. I just don't think he's going to be able to do so. It will be 2 to go this time by Arjuna, with Kerr just now coming through turn 4. But here's that battle between Canup and Sollenberger that has gone the way of the 5. Clear track in front of Luke Canup, but 4.8, now 4.7 seconds he's going to try and make up.
It's been a interesting ride here at Crandon Short so far. I didn't know necessarily what to expect, to chop off half the track and remove some of those very distinctive corners, because let's not forget, Josh, how many pivotal moments we've seen down at what has colloquially become known as Tree Turn.
We're not going to see the hard braking of that hairpin. We're not going to see the massive sends that we always see down there. But I think in the Pro 2s, admittedly, it's going to be a little bit of a different game for passing. These Pro 4s have always been kind of tough to pass in the longer sweeping corners. And Crandon Short, admittedly, is all sweeping corners. I think the Pro 2s, we're going to see a little bit better racing versus the All-Star Invitational here. But we've got only 25 seconds left on the clock, and should be a checkered flag this time by for Scott Kerr, who I haven't seen much in the off-road scene lately. I'm excited to see him back and excited to see him about to take a checkered flag in the All-Star Invitational.
I mean, 2 stark images. End of the opening lap in the first race, Scott Kerr on his lid back in pit lane. As we come to the end of the second fully inverted race, Scott Kerr has taken full advantage of the opportunity presented. He will take the Nitro Circus Sim Racing team back to victory lane in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. A dominant win for the number 84. Luke Canup goes from the back to 2nd spot, while Travis Sollenberger in the iRacing.com number 66 just will hold off Keenan Kusin for the final step of the podium. The All-Stars put on a show for us in the exhibition, but for some, championship points have been secured.
And crucial championship points as well for this All-Star Invitational. But everybody gets to celebrating now, and Bo Albert gets sent into the stratosphere.
That is maybe what Bo and Arjuna tend to be a little bit more synonymous with. Let's grab a look at the race results, though. It's 5 seconds the margin at the end. Did note, by the way, Scott Kerr in that Nitro Circus Sim Racing car being chased down by Luke Canup in a Team Gold truck for the first time in 2023. Travis Sollenberger rounds out the podium with Keenan Kusin, not qualifying, but able to cycle up to 4th by the end of the second main event. Adam Briggs in the 777, just 10 seconds off the back of the leader, with Zachary Drapkin only getting up to 6th in front of Bo Albert, in front of Chris Leone, Wes Graham, and Trevor Teal. That's the top 10. Down in 11th spot, we find Mia Rose, Leo Mora, Zach Christie, and Brian Zabelski. All drivers finishing on the lead lap. And for Scott Kerr, taking full advantage of the clean air. Fastest lap punched in on the 2nd time of asking. Let's make our way down then to victory lane. We didn't chat with Luke Canup after race number 1, so instead we'll chat with him now. He's standing by with Joshua Lee.
Well, what a race tonight for Luke Canup. And Luke, we got to talk first about that first race that we had, that photo finish. What was your thoughts coming to the checkered flag? Zachary Drapkin, your good friend, trying to make a dive to the inside, and you just trying to punch the throttle and get to the finish line first, and winning by 5/1000ths of a second.
Oh man, I was just, he was definitely faster than me at the end. We had our little tangle, and I just couldn't really hang on to the truck. It was going wherever it was, and then he went in the pole, I think. And then I had a gap and I thought I could hold it, and then he just kept creeping in, and then I knew he was going to make it exciting. So once I saw he got to my inside, I just floored it and hoped for the best. And then I'm glad we got it though. Huge win.
I know you've always got speed in these Pro 4s without a doubt, but going from the Pro 2 lights against these All-Star Invitational drivers to the Pro 4s, what was the main difference in the racing with the other drivers that you noticed tonight and is going to carry over to the last 4 rounds of the All-Star Championship?
I noticed that I can actually compete for wins way easier. I'm definitely more better in these Pro 4s, so happy to be a part of the Team Gold squad. You know, it's definitely huge to be able to, you know, practice with the pros. You know, Joel is killing it right now, and then Trent's doing awesome, and then Justin's doing amazing as well. So it's definitely good to have them behind my back. You know, I'm gonna be testing with them whenever they're testing, and then I think it's going to translate huge into these all-star races, maybe take home the championship. But yeah, just can't thank them enough.
Great to see you again in the All-Star Invitational tonight, and we look forward to seeing what you've got for the final 4 rounds of the campaign behind the wheel of these Pro 4s. Congratulations on your win tonight and second place finish in race number 2.
Yeah, thank you. I just got to thank again Team Gold, and then Rigid Industries, Piston Pete's Coffee, and everyone else. Thank you guys.
Great to hear from Luke Canup in the number 5 Arjuna. Solid finishes again. What more could you expect from the 5 Rigid machine?
Absolutely, and valuable championship points going his way. Seems like the Pro 4 suits him well. We're joined now by race 2 winner Scott Kerr. Finished the first race in last. He took full advantage of the full to not flip his car this time around, Scott. That must have been a bit of a relief for you in the Nitro Circus sim racing machine.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate start on that last one, but, you know, that's just the way she goes. The way she goes. I could have left a little bit more room there with, I believe it was Bo Albert, but I kind of just decided to take a nice tight line out there and paid the price.
Pro 4 trucks. We've talked a lot about 900 horsepower. Zachary Drapkin's been talking to us a lot about throttle control. What can you tell the viewers about what a beast this truck really is?
Well, especially with the new update, the truck kind of acts a little bit more different, and I actually think it's a bit better for newer drivers, especially with throttle control. It is still a big thing, but you can really put the pedal to the metal, and you know, this truck will want to take that turn nice and tight. I'm still trying to learn these new trucks. I can't for the life of me figure it out, and if you look at how I'm driving, it's still the old way, and I'm a stubborn mule trying to fix my ways on these trucks. But they're really cool. They're a lot of fun. All-wheel drive. It's a truck. It goes in the air. What more else could you ask for? It's the best.
Well, you got the fastest lap in that second race, so you've clearly been able to find some speed in the car. Scott, thank you so much for joining us as ever, and we'll see you next week, hopefully, in this Pro 4 truck once again.
Thank you so much, and I just want to give a shout out to Next Level Racing, ZK Designs. Those companies have been really great for us. Thank you.
Scott Kerr, a winner here in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Josh Lee, though, is standing by with his pick for the victory, Trevor Teal.
Well, Trevor, you made me look like a liar here. I was picked you for the win. You were my wild card pick. You were fast at the start. What happened?
Well, Chris kind of got a little crazy out there, so that was fun.
You're going to put all the blame on Chris, huh? He comes out here for 1 round. You're the more experienced driver, and you put all the blame on Chris?
Yep, 100%.
All right, well, shifting over from you just placing blame on other drivers, Pro 4s in the All-Star Invitational for the rest of the campaign. Pro 2 lights versus the Pro 4s, which one do you like better? What's the main differences between the two? And Pro 4s for the rest of the campaign, can you make those points work in your favor?
Yeah, I think I can. Just got to stay out of trouble. And I like the Pro 4s so much better. They just have more control, and there's more power. I think there's just a little bit more to separate the drivers, so that's fun. It's more of a challenge, I feel like.
And moving on with the rest of the schedule, Wild West still to come, Wild Horse Pass, the long configuration of Crandon, and Bark River before we count out the season. What's your favorite track among those 4? Which one are you looking forward to? And which one can you get to victory lane for the first time in the All-Star Invitational? And which one are you wearing the suit?
We might put on the suit for the last round. But definitely Crandon Long's going to be a fun one if we can get good starts and stay out of Chris's mishaps. We'll do pretty good. Yeah. Regardless, we're having fun, and that's what it's all about.
So me and Arjuna are going to dress up for the final round, and you're also going to dress up. Wink, wink.
If you do it, I'll do it.
Well, you heard it here first. Trevor Teal. Make sure you tune in for the final round. But Trevor, thanks for joining us again up here in the booth. Always great to talk to you. Congratulations on your 2 finishes tonight in the All-Star Invitational.
Thanks, guys. Real quick, just want to thank Nitro Circus, Next Level Racing, ZK Designs, and everybody else on the team. They've been working so hard, and we're pumped to be here.
Arjuna, you heard the promise of the final round too, right?
Yes, no, we are expecting Pickle Teal to show up when we return to Crandon at the end of August. We're joined now by Mia Rose, who has now gone from 400 horsepower to 900 horsepower. Mia, how does that change your opinion of short course racing?
There you go, be good if I met my mic. I thought it would be a bit less biffing and barging, but apparently I was completely wrong. Apparently adding 500 horsepower and a drive shaft to the front of the car makes the racing a bit more spread out. But it was fun. Race 2, I sort of felt like some inappropriate joke that I cannot say on the broadcast, but had fun. I will be invoicing, I think, 3 other drivers for the damage tonight, and I'll see how they respond.
Yes, biffing and barging. I think I'm going to steal that one from you for the future. I guess the thing that is a little different now is Zachary Drapkin was talking about throttle control and being able to use the 900 horsepower that you have, especially with the track evolution. How did you feel the Crandon short track evolved over the 10-minute racing?
It evolved a lot especially from warm-up. You could definitely see it too, but I was seeing a lot of other drivers out there trying to go up the track and get off the slippery stuff down the bottom. I tried it a couple times. I couldn't really get it. But I think that's something that a lot of the off-roading drivers have over me, is that they can adjust their sort of line every lap to get the best grip out the corner, which I can't do. So, but, another 4 rounds of this, I'll probably improve by the end.
You got pretty quick in the Pro 2 light, so we'll see when we return to Crandon in the long configuration, maybe if you'll be up towards the front with the Drapkins and the Canups once again. Mia, always great to have you in the field, and, well, hoping that next week it's a little bit less biffing and barging.
I hope so too.
Mia Rose joins us in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. One more interview for us to get to, and Josh Lee is standing by with Keenan Kusin.
Well, Keenan, I gotta be clear. I fumbled over my words earlier and accidentally called you Koonin instead of Keenan Kusin. So, are you thinking about
not the worst I've heard, but
are you thinking about changing your name tag from Aerotech to Koonin?
I mean, I could. That is not the worst I've ever heard. I've been called Gunnieth before, so until we start throwing G's in there, I think you're all good, buddy.
All right. Okay. Making me feel a little bit better about my fumbling over my words earlier. But from the Pro 2 lights to the Pro 2s, which one did you like better out of the 2? And is the Pro 4 fit your driving style a little bit more? Because I did notice you were using that over-under a little bit more than you were in the Pro 2 lights.
I mean, I'm from like my background is sim drifting, so I really got up to speed in the 2-wheel drive stuff really quick, whether it was the Pro 2 light or the Pro 2. The Pro 4 with the 4-wheel drive and having to use the front end and stuff like that was really and is really tricky for me to get a hold of. I mean, I was able to box with people like Canup and Drapkin in the rear wheel drive stuff. I really don't think that's going to happen in the Pro 4, but just like Mia said, I'm here to see if I can pick some stuff up, and I wasn't too disappointed with my pace today. So yeah, I think I definitely enjoy the rear wheel drive stuff, and I think you guys are going to get a real big show with the pros and the Pro 2s. They're a blast. They're a ride. If you've never driven them, please. I want some races to go official. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun watching us door the hell out of each other for the next 4 weeks.
You mentioned the background in sim drifting, and I think that's one of the backgrounds that can blend over to off-road. Did you notice kind of having, I don't want to say a leg up, but you already kind of knew what to expect in catching the truck when it drifted in these corners? That kind of give you a little bit more momentum going into trying to learn these off-road trucks?
Catching the truck, moving the truck around on the brake, moving the truck around with the throttle, kind of like counter steering. A lot of it did carry over, and a lot of it was just a good baseline to start. So yeah, like I said, the rear wheel drive stuff was, I spend a lot less time working on it to kind of get where I want to get. But with the 4-wheel drive, it just, obviously you don't have a front diff kind of pulling you out of slides and stuff with drifting. But a lot of it really was surprised how it carried over. Throttle control in the middle of the corner as well. I think maybe Luke touched on it, where you kind of want to be just on the throttle enough to where the tires are just starting to dig. Same idea with competitive drifting. You're just spinning your wheels. It looks really cool. You make a lot of smoke, but then the lead car pulls away. So not not again with the Pro 4 stuff. I still got a little bit to learn, but I'm super lucky to have that in my toolkit.
Thanks again, Keenan, for joining us up here in the broadcast booth. Arjuna never thought about sim drifting going into off-road being an advantage, but once he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Great explanation there. Let's see if we can get an explanation from Chris Leone as to how his endeavors out there on the track went. Chris, you're usually watching on from the sidelines as the drivers beat and barge amongst themselves. How is it being amongst the beating and barging today?
It was fun to create a user error here and there and, well, everywhere. But yeah, no, with this being All-Star Week, and I kind of made a friendly bet with Travis about some employee-on-employee battling there, and he got the best of me both times, and well-deserved, but just wanted to get out there, have some fun, and, it's been a great season so far. We're always grateful to you guys for all the work that you put into these shows, and certainly all the All-Stars, and yeah, I need to make my annual appearance, or, maybe I'll make another one later in the year, but I kind of stacked up the whole field in one of the hairpins early on in that second race because I got a good hole shot, and I was just waiting for people to get past me, and just didn't happen right away like I thought it was gonna.
Well, Chris, hopefully we'll get you back at Crandon at the end of the season to get you into the trucks. But thank you for joining us. It's time for us to turn our attention to the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. The drivers make their way from 900 horsepower four-wheel drive to 700 horsepower two-wheel drive machines. And now it is time for their exhibition event. They are already rolling on track for their practice session right now, qualifying only 30 seconds or so from getting underway. Let's take you through the schedule, where we've been, where we've still got left to go, because like we said, halfway through the championship so far, no points to pay out today, Josh, in the All-Star Invitational race for the drivers. But after this, 4 more races returning to the tracks that we've been to, but in a slightly different order.
And this schedule is only going to get more interesting because we're going back to Wild West. We haven't been there since the start of the season. Bark River is moved up again, only a couple of weeks removed from the last time we were in Bark River. Wild Horse Pass, short track to cap off a season right with Crandon crowning a championship. No better place to crown a champion than Crandon in the long configuration.
That, of course, a quite relentless run. 9 consecutive weeks for these drivers of racing action. It's going to all culminate, of course, at the Big House once again. Let's talk you through how we score championship points. Of course, not a concern for today, but we'll give you a bit of a context of the championship as it stands, and we can also talk about prize money. It starts in qualifying. 5 points goes to the driver with the fastest lap in qualifying. They start at the front of the first main event. 50 points goes to the winner before we invert the top 8 for the second main event of the night. They're all fighting for their share of $25,000, with our champion walking away with $10,000 to their name.
And you mentioned how those points, and even though we're not running for points tonight in the exhibition, it still kind of translates over to the championship. 2 points per position. That is shown to be important to the points this season, Arjuna, and it's going to keep being important in the last 4 rounds.
I'm looking forward as well to seeing how the Pole Award, Green Flag Award, and CBR Hard Charger Awards will play out. Those not just per race, but over the season as well. Standings, and boy, is this exciting, because there's a breakaway forming. Keaton Swain and Connor Barry were the title protagonists in 2022. They were the expected title challengers in this campaign. Jarrett Liebert and Joel Blewett came in as rookies and have very much, I think, set the expectations to one side, because both drivers have been able to cycle their way into victory lane, with Jarrett Liebert having 2 victories already this season, and they sit nearly just 25 points off the back of the championship leader.
You can tell why Connor Barry had the number 1 coming into this season and why Keaton Swain had the number 2. Not only because they were the top 2 finishing in the campaign last year, but they are 2 of the best right now. Jarrett Liebert, Joel Blewett, the rookies trying to catch up. This is only going to get more interesting, but Arjuna, we got to put a bookmark in the points championship right now, because not running for any points tonight. They're just running for bragging rights.
I think what we are going to be talking about in some ways, Josh, is, like you say, bragging rights, but momentum as well. Non-points, some drivers are unfortunately missing today's race, which I don't blame them. 9 consecutive weeks of racing. It's nice to be able to take a mental week off. But this is that pivotal point, Josh, where if you've had a bad start to the season, you need to turn it around in the second half. If you've had a good start to the season, you can't afford to slip up. This is where the championship runs go from materializing to becoming reality.
And the campaign right now, going through the points championship, normally All-Star right in the middle of the season would just kind of be a setback for some drivers. I think there's a good amount of drivers in this field, Arjuna, that can take what tonight is going to bring. Yes, it's a different truck. Yes, it's the Pro 2s, not the Pro 4s. Yes, it's a track that we're not going to come back to in the short configuration. However, a win tonight could lead to more wins down the line, because they can say, hey, I won against drivers that are better than me, that are above my caliber. Then that could lead to more victories down the line. I think of the drivers that we've seen struggle so far this season, Quinton Del Olmo being one of them, Nicholas Dashley, Connor Parisi, Terry Miller's in the field as well, Tyson Miller, who's currently qualified in 4th. This could turn their season around.
Absolutely. On top right now is Connor Barry. Has not been in pole position so far this year, despite being the best of the qualifiers in 2022 in terms of average starting spots. He's got 700s back to Christopher Plumley, with Josh Edmondson lining back currently in 3rd spot. One thing that I think we should note is that the winners here today are not going to be officially, in my mind, iRacing Off-Road Championship Series winner. They have won an exhibition race. For someone like Josh Edmondson, though, that has consistently been up towards the front, has been up on the podium 6 times in 24 races, is a win here today going to be that catalyst, the momentum? You talk about that swing. Could that be the impetus for someone like Edmondson to potentially try in the second half of the season to close the gap to the championship leaders?
I think it can be, and I think that's what Josh Edmondson needs right now behind the wheel of that number 4. New paint scheme on the Pro 2 as well, running a Nitro Cross Next Level Racing entry tonight, but he just hasn't had the success I think he was expecting. But the last league championship I saw him get was in these Pro 2s. Admittedly, I think he's better in the Pro 2s than he is the Pro 4s. He's qualified 3rd right now. He's got Barry and Plumley in front of him, but all bets are off when we line him up 10 trucks wide on the Land Rush start.
You say that Edmondson's better in the Pro 2s. Edmondson, I think, will admit that as well. And in some ways, despite Drapkin telling us that throttle control is more in the Pro 4s, Edmondson will argue the opposite and will say that the Pro 2 maybe swings a little bit more in his wheelhouse. However, as qualifying comes to a close, it is the driver that is out there in the real world competing in 2-wheel short course races that puts it on top in qualifying. Connor Barry has been unable to convert be able to reach pole position so far this season. It comes finally in 700 horsepower trim. 42.202. Big swing in lap times compared to our All-Star Invitational. It will be Barry, Plumley, Edmondson, Miller, Fox, and Swain all on that front row, along with Killian Del Olmo, Trenton Briley, Joel Blewett, and Quinton Del Olmo. Watch out on the very outside. Blewett and Del Olmo will try and sweep their momentum in through that opening corner. Dashley will be inside of row number 2 with Connor Parisi sitting just alongside him. 13th for Jarrett Liebert, Crystal King, Justin Kay, and Terry Miller make up the slightly reduced 16 truck Pro 2s that get ready to rumble. Waiting for the shot from up above that should confirm that this is going to be a Land Rush start once again, which means we can talk about the fact that for those cars on the inside of the second row, Josh, it maybe is actually a slightly better place to be starting.
And I will say, I'm glad we have a blimp camera option for Hugo Louise tonight, because with it being the short configuration, I don't think any TV cameras reach over here. But we mentioned this Land Rush start so often. It's signature for Crandon. You could start anywhere on the front row or second row for that matter and end up with the lead at the end of the first corner. You can't say that about really any other type of start in motorsports, period. Maybe Supercross, where they all start on one row, but this is, I think, our version of the gate drop at a Supercross or a motocross race.
And this isn't a track that invokes some of those feelings of Supercross and motocross, but when we go to Wild Horse, when we go to Wild West, it definitely feels like that sort of a thrill ride and experience for the drivers. A couple of the drivers out there, by the way, do have backgrounds in motocross and that sort of stuff, so it's always interesting to talk about those sort of crossovers. Once again, I'm going to put you on the spot, Joshua Lee, who comes out on top after 16 laps of racing.
That's tough when qualifying doesn't really matter here at Crandon. I'm throwing out a name. Nicholas Dashley. He gets the upset.
Ready to go once again in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, but for an exhibition with 700 horsepower, two-wheel drive machines. Couple of cars getting squirrely. Looks like Joe Blewett on the outside, struggling to control his car over the jumps, but in through the opening corner, it's Quintin Dalomo that sweeps that momentum through. Josh Fox gets tangled up behind in the Williams Esports machine. Plenty of barging and bashing going on in these Pro 2 trucks, but as they sweep over the jump, funnel through the left, almost 3-4 wide, and Connor Barry's going into the wall.
He is upside down. He'll get Josh Fox involved. Plumley's in it as well. One of the Millers is in it as well. And that's Tyson Miller getting involved in that one. But out in front, it's the Delolmo brothers, Quintin and Killian, then Keaton Swain, Connor Barry, Josh Edmondson. Back from there, that truck that was flipping the most was Joel Blewett in the 27. He's towed it back to the pits.
Hard to kind of pick things apart from up above, but it looked like there was a car that went inside of the wall at Calamity Corner. Plumley, Fox, and Blewett all down on pit lane at the end of, well, the starting lap. We have started the official lap number 1 now. It's still Quintin Dalomo that leads at the front.
That was Trenton Briley that mounted the inside wall there, and you can see our timing. It'll update in just a moment once the field goes by Trenton Briley in the pit lane, but it's still the Delolmos in the lead. Still Connor Barry now in third as he gets by Josh Edmondson. Edmondson's got to deal with the 2 of Keaton Swain there as well, and Connor Parisi in the 6 is also at the tail end of this group. But now really focus on the differences between those Pro 4s. You don't see nearly as much sliding. You don't see nearly as much catching in the Pro 4s because they've got front wheel drive to pull the truck out of the slides. Pro 2s don't got that. You have nothing on the front end of this truck except steering those front tires. They race very, very different. Start to notice those small differences, especially going through these corners.
And look out front. It is Quintin Dalomo that leads Killian Dalomo. This is a sight that will put the Delomos family with a huge smile on their face, a racing family. We've seen Quintin Dalomo multiple years as a cross-kart champion in his native France, and now they do battle at the front of the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series.
Very familiar spot for the Delolmos when it comes to dirt road racing in general. Remember the start of last season, Arjuna, when we saw them come in from IRX and just seemed like they were always running top 5. At least one of them was always up near the top 5. But Connor Barry running in third. When I mentioned Josh Edmondson kind of being better in the Pro 2s versus the Pro 4s, I'd almost say the opposite for Connor Barry. He's been successful in the Pro 2s, but I wouldn't say Connor Barry dominates in the Pro 2s. Pro 4s 100%. I would not bet against him in any World Championship or any championship for that matter in a Pro 4. Pro 2s is a completely different story for the one.
Connor Barry's closed up to the Delomos at the front. He's brought Edmondson with him, and so it is now a Virtual Drivers by TX3 machine, an Altus Esports car, and then 2 of the Nitro Circus sim racing cars running 3rd and 4th positions. Keaton Swain's jumped up to 5th, but let's go back in time. Christopher Plumley's on the outside. He's the one that gets the final shot to Joel Blewett, and that is hellacious.
Very glad we are running in a simulation because nobody got hurt, but take a look at the battle between the 5 and the 1. Here comes Edmondson giving a door to Killian Delolmo. Edmondson to second place. Barry makes another move, trying to go for that spot as well.
As we rejoin the action, it was Barry and Killian Delolmo that were turning one another. Edmondson takes advantage, but Quintin Dalomo now 1.5 seconds clear at the front, but with Edmondson, maybe the most confident in these Pro 2 trucks, starting to hunt him down. If you're the Nitro Circus Sim Racing teammates, you've got to work together now. You can't afford to cost each other time as we jump on board with Killian Dalomo, who you'll note has got a GoPro strapped to the top of his head.
Where's that feed? Do we have that? Is that in the Zoom too? Or is it just a GoPro for no reason? We don't.
Well, hopefully there's going to be some footage thrown on some social medias after this, because that seems like it would be a very interesting perspective. Watch the hand movements as well as Killian just tries to hold his truck steady. One thing that I'm noting watching this view that we do get with Killian, he's using a formula rim. He's not got one of those round rims that he can have a little bit more control of. He's got to make sure his hands stay where they are.
I respect it. I am a formula rim user in the off-road trucks. There, I said it. I use a Formula Rim in the Pro Trucks. I like the paddle shifters being a little bit closer to my hands. I feel like I have more control using a Formula Rim. Exactly what you said, Arjuna. I don't have to move my hands. I just throw the wheel wherever it needs to go. I don't need to do too much palm grip. I don't need to do anything crazy like that. I keep more control with the Formula Rim. I respect it from Killian Delormeau. Probably got that from his IRX days.
And, I mean, look at Bobby Zelensky over in NASCAR in the Coca-Cola iRacing series. He's someone that for years has used Formula Rims on the road course races there. On board with Keaton Swain, the championship leader, riding behind Connor Parisi and the number 2 machine in that Sim Coach's car for Factory Sim Sport. The 27-year-old out of Arizona, second in the championship last year, has been the mark of consistency. 24 starts in his championship series career, 24 top 10s.
When you talk about consistency, there's a picture of Keaton Swain next to that word in the dictionary of iRacing, because it is just always at the front, without fail. He could have an issue, run into some contact, get pushed down into P15. You look on the white flag lap, he's up into P4. I mean, just out of nowhere, Keaton Swain knows how to get it done in these off-road trucks. Another one that, honestly, I think is better in the Pro 2s. This season and last season of Pro 4 competition has kind of swapped my brain a little bit for that. But I know Keaton Swain knows how to get it done in the Pro 2s, and you know who else knows how to get it done? Josh Edmondson, as he takes the race lead.
Quintin Dallomo now trying to make sure it's not a Nitro Circus 1 and 2. He'll try and cover off Connor Barry, who tries that switchback, and with the elbows out, the bumping and banging once again. Outside for Connor Barry's going to see him surely have to tuck back into line. But Josh Edmondson will see this battling side by side and think, I've got a chance to break away and take my very first iRacing Off-Road Championship Series win.
It's one of the things that he does best, is pull away when other drivers are battling behind. Connor Barry makes slight contact to the wall. That'll invite Killian Delormeau back into the fight as brother Quintin goes to the inside of Barry. They all slide their way through turn 3. 3 wide with the 14 in the middle. The 5 with not enough momentum on the inside to keep that 3 wide going, as Barry is going to end up back to the inside in turn 4. He'll get that spot. The 14 makes a good bit of contact as Barry tries to park it on the apex.
He grabs second. He leaves the Delomos to squabble now for third spot. We have 7 laps with which to play. Barry and Edmondson, Nitro Circus 1 and 2, Dallomo 3 and 4 with Parisi, Dashalet, King, Liebert, Swain, and Tyson Miller, the rest of the top 10. 4 cars waiting on pit lane for the second race of the evening. Trenton Briley, Christopher Plumley, Josh Fox, and Joel Blewett.
Some great racing we're seeing here in race number 1 of the exhibition race in the middle of the season for the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. 1 second already to the lead of Josh Edmondson, but I'm interested to see what the Delormeau brothers are going to do to try and get back to the top 2 positions in this race, because we're not running for points. We mentioned it. We're running for bragging rights. We're running for trying to turn the season around as Delormeau's make contact going through turn 2. But how aggressive are they willing to be to get the win? We saw how aggressive Killian was to get around Quintin. Is he going to try and catch up to Connor Barry? Does he use the bumper? How does he get around him?
Look at the 2 Delomos pushing each other, but crucially losing track of the 2 in front. Killian goes a little bit defensive with his slide, blocks the path of Quintin, and now Parisi starting to close. Last time by, closed a 10th or 2 to that number 5 machine. Let's go back and take a look at what happened with Edmondson as he dived to the inside and, well, as easy as you'd like in some ways, grabs the lead with the block pass.
That was beautifully done for the race lead and exactly what he needed to do. He didn't slide it so much that he ended up losing a ton of momentum in the middle and just kind of parking the truck there and hoping the other drivers wouldn't drive around him. That was beautifully done to keep that momentum going. That's why he's the race leader, but Barry did make up about a 10th or 2 on that lap. Let's see if he can make up more with just 4 to go.
Just a reminder as well of how busy the action is here on the iRacing Esports Network. We obviously every Wednesday until the end of August live here starting at 8 p.m. Eastern for the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Tomorrow night, the Turner Racing Grand Prix qualifying series continues to rumble on. They go to Pocono in their first oval race. Porsche Esports Super Cup qualifying series heads over to Silverstone on Saturday. And then on Monday, it kicks off once again. World of Outlaws butt kicker late model, eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series on Tuesday. There's so much with which you can take a look at, so make sure you stay connected to us here on the iRacing Esports Network. Front of the field, though, is Liebert and King battle for 7th spot. Connor Barry's trying to close on Edmondson, but it's coming a little bit too slowly. A 10th the last time by as they come to the line at the end of lap 13.
Running out of time if Barry is going to catch up to Edmondson. You can see just kind of like an accordion. They shrink up together through the corners, then reach the straightaway. One driver gets out of the corner, gets on the throttle, gets the momentum, climbs out, then the next, then the next, then the next. Very similar to any other type of road racing that you've seen. However, the difference is you see a little bit more contact here than you do in those other road racing disciplines. We go on board with Nicholas Dachelet fighting with Jarrett Liebert, and Dachelet, one of the emotional winners from earlier this season, taps the wall on the outside there of turn 2.
You say emotional, I say hometown hero when he came across the line to win here at the Crandon International Raceway. And so often in sim racing, Josh, we talk about the fact that we don't get to see the emotions. I think the thing that struck us the most with Nicholas is you could tell just how much it meant to him to be able to grab the win and that factory sim sport number 15.
It meant a lot to him. We saw it on his face. And that is the beautiful thing about being able to watch our drivers through their cameras and really get to see what we see in real life with real life motorsports that admittedly didn't make its way into esports racing for a long, long time. Now it has. And now we get the moments like I think back to the eNASCAR championship, the first one broadcasted live where we saw that emotion out of Zach Novak. We saw that exact same thing out of Nicholas Dachelet.
Oh, you just reminded me of what a great moment that was with Zach and the family coming in and celebrating with him live on national television. One more lap to go, though, here in the first of 2 all-star events for the Off-Road Championship Series. It's Edmondson and Barry, the Nitro Circus teammates, still 1 and 2 at the front.
Does Barry go for an aggressive move, or does he let Josh Edmondson get away with the race win? Only 2 more passing opportunities for Barry. Admittedly, from 5/10 back, I don't think he's got much in the arsenal. He tries to go for something, but it doesn't work out.
Edmondson just slightly opened up the corner, ran a little bit wider, and now just has to navigate through Calamity Corner. In virtual reality, running with that Pimax Crystal, Josh Edmondson, for the very first time, will taste success in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. In the All-Star Invitational, it is Edmondson that grabs the win.
Might not be for points, might not count towards the stats, but could this be the moment that turns around Josh Edmondson's season, and can he get that first points-paying win in the Pro 4s? And now we're going to invert the top 8. He'll start 8th. Can he get a second win on the evening?
Just 2 minutes before we're getting ready to go for another 16 laps. Let's run you down through those results and show you how they finished. Nitro Circus Sim Racing 1 and 2, as mentioned, just half a second split Edmondson and Barry at the line, while Killian Dolomo able to rob Quinton of a 3rd place finish in that Virtual Drivers by TX3 number 14. Connor Parisi in a bit of no man's land to make it 3 of those Nitro Circus Sim Racing cars inside the top 5, with Team Rogue's Jarrett Liebert, the best of the rookies, in 6th position. Nicholas Dachelet for Legion Speed Sports leads the contingent that includes the Factory SimSport affiliated entries behind, with Crystal King, Keaton Swain, and then Tyson Miller, the rest of the top 10. Rolling down to 11, Justin Kay, Terry Miller. Those were the 2 final drivers to finish, while for Christopher Plumley, for Joshua Fox, Trenton Browley, and Joel Blewett, the opening lap at Crandon was a little bit more exciting than which they were hoping for. Fastest lap went the way of Josh Edmondson on the 2nd lap as he tried to hunt down the race leaders. So, drivers get another 60 or so seconds of warm-up to understand what the track is feeling like. Incredibly important if you are Josh Fox, who only got about 3 corners in that first race of the evening.
Yeah, now he admittedly is not a full field invert like we see in the All-Star Invitational, so he's still going to be towards the back of the field, but and rush start, back of the field, you're still starting row 2.
Again, inside of row 2, I think we had this discussion slightly earlier, maybe not the worst place to be in terms of protecting yourself. There's the Pennsylvania native Josh Fox, has raced some sprint cars in the real world, has a master's degree in materials engineering, if I remember correctly, as well. One very interesting story in that Williams Esports car, that is for sure. You can see 10 seconds, the clock continuing to tick on down. Once again, 16 of our Pro 2 trucks will get ready to do battle at the shortened 0.75 mile configuration of the Crandon International Raceway. Just 4 corners, passing very, very difficult, even more difficult with the Pro 2 trucks. That warm-up session is officially in the books. The drivers get themselves ready to be gridded up in the land rush formation to swarm 10 wide into the opening corner. It'll be Crystal King in the factory sim sport car. They'll be on the very inside of the opening row. Nicholas Dashley, Jarrett Liebert, Connor Parisi, Quinton Del Lobo, Killian Del Lobo, and then of course Connor Barry and Josh Edmondson are top 8 invert. Keaton Swain, Tyson Miller line up 9th and 10th with Justin Kay, Terry Miller 11th and 12th, the final 2 cars to have finished the first race. Behind them we're going to see those that didn't get past lap number 1. Christopher Plumley, Josh Fox, Trenton Briley, and Joel Blewett, the rookie, from the very outside of row number 2. I think it's very unfair to throw you on the spot once again for a prediction, Josh. So instead, I'm going to ask you about what you think has been determined in terms of who's been looking good in this Pro 2 with 16 laps already done and dusted.
Well, I mentioned Josh Edmondson being better in the Pro 2 than I think he is in the Pro 4, and you mentioned he'd agree with that. Connor Barry did get 2nd place. He starts in 7th. The Del Olmos are quick, but who can take advantage of this invert, I think, the best? How about Crystal King? I haven't seen much of her in the Pro 2s, admittedly. I've seen more of her in the Pro 4s, and she's been getting faster and faster and faster every single round, and maybe the cat back there on the bed will give her a little bit of good luck.
And has had some success in the past 12 months outside of the championship series. Felt that she put too much pressure on herself as the first female competitor in iRacing World Championship history, and so very grateful to get a slight do-over in 2023 and a bit of a reset. We thought it was maybe a dog the last time we saw it, so a little bit clearer we can confirm cat cam behind Crystal King. Just waiting now for the seconds to tick off, for the lights to begin to build, the engines to rev, and the drivers are heading off down on that land rush formation. Again, there's plenty of bumps because we are off the regular racing line, Josh. It's not an easy funnel into that right-hand sweeper.
It is not. And also interesting to note, because we're not running the Crandon long configuration, that back straightaway that they're going to dump onto, completely fresh track.
Well, ready to go once again. More than 10,000 horsepower screaming as the Pro 2 lights storm themselves from the land rush formation. Once again, cars trying to find themselves onto that fresh dirt and carry some extra speed into the corner. Crystal King's got to watch out. She's going to get pinched on the inside, drops back to 5th. It looks like Killian Del Olmo's got the whole shot and will run themselves in towards that left-hand jump that they've got to get themselves set up for and execute as cleanly as they can. Keaton Swain's inside on the second line. On the outside, a big push, a big charge from Josh Edmondson.
Invert, no problem for the 4. He'll look for the race lead on the outside. That's Keaton Swain on the inside. Barry all the way bottom of 4 wide as they make contact behind through the middle lane. That was Tyson Miller getting cattywampus, but out in front, Killian Del Olmo protects the inside line. 3 wide for 2nd. Edmondson in the middle. Barry on the inside. It's 3 championship contenders. Now to the race lead goes Keaton Swain.
Took full advantage of Killian Del Olmo getting a little bit up and out of the groove, and now Connor Barry clips the tires on the inside, checks his momentum up a little bit as we are officially on the first full lap of racing action. Look at the swarm behind. So much more action than what we saw in the first 16 laps of racing.
Keaton Swain going to try and get away from the group behind. It's not going to work well as Killian Del Olmo tries to set up another pass to the inside. He does get there in time. Now Josh Edmondson going to be top of 3 as Miller goes to the inside. Edmondson's got to save it. Plumley's going to get by as well. Connor Barry to 3rd. Swain to the lead. Killian Del Olmo trying to protect in 2nd.
It's Keaton Swain that leads, though, at the end of the official first lap. Behind, Edmondson's been able to slot into 6th position, and now surely will set his sights on one by one working through the field and trying to claw his way up. First up the line is going to be Christopher Plumley in that bright purple machine. I think Edmondson's going to try and make short work of that if he can, to then work on the back of the likes of Tyson Miller and Connor Barry. On board with Tyson Miller we jump. It's a relatively calm look, talking with his teammates and watching as Connor Barry throws a slide.
That was Christopher Plumley throwing a slide to the inside of Tyson Miller. It didn't stick. He went way too far up the road and ended up losing a ton of momentum that he couldn't dig out with in these Pro 2s. He looks back to the inside of Miller, but makes contact with the 5 of Killian Del Olmo and the 4 of Josh Edmondson. Plumlee almost up on that outside wall. I think he did get up on the inside wall there. Loses some time. Edmondson looks to get the pass made for 5th, as that 4 of Josh Edmondson was very, very quick off that land rush start. We saw Marjuna almost to the race lead, then a little bit of contact later, falls back to 6, now trying to fight his way back through the top 5.
Good recovery drive so far as well from Edmondson to have limited the damage of the initial sort of unsettling that he had. For Tyson Miller, by the way, another one of our Wisconsin natives, so this is one of his home tracks. We'll be looking for a good run here. Plumlee and Edmondson just continue to squabble, though. No change arounds, at least for the time being. Crystal King did get involved in some contact on the opening lap, but unlike in the first race where 4 cars ended up on the flatbed after 1 lap, all cars still out there on track as Plumlee hits the wall and goes wide.
That will invite Josh Edmondson back to the inside, but not nearly quick enough to get the pass made yet. Now going through turn 2, they make contact, door slam between the two. Edmondson trying to run him up the road. He does a little bit, but Plumlee did not give up, trying to hold on the outside line. Edmondson dives it to the inside. Plumlee trying to get the switchback done. Plumlee to the inside. 2 VR users battling now for P5. Edmondson's got the spot, and he will clear the 8 in time for turn 4.
I know the folks over at Pimax love it when they get their virtual reality headsets featured. Now we get 2 of them fighting. Oh, they'll be loving this. We'll see it on social media, surely. Can see as well the fact that they're in virtual reality means that they're able to focus the attention where they want it to be. The other benefit is with the Pimax in particular, it's like the equivalent of an ultra-wide monitor for those that run with screens in reality. It wraps around you and gives you a lot more immersion with which you can always be poking and finding little details.
And I think we've talked about it before in the Off-Road Championship Series, Arjuna, the amount of off-road competitors that use VR. I think it's more than really any other discipline in iRacing. We don't normally see it in the road license. Don't see it in the oval license either. Dirt oval, okay, maybe a little bit more, but still not that common. Very common in off-road versus triple screens versus ultra-wide. VR seems to always be the way to go for the drivers that are quickest.
I do wonder as well for some of these drivers, do they look at Cam Peterson's setup that we saw last year with VR and motion and they go, that's a bit too much for me, just VR is good enough. Joe Blewett fights with the virtual drivers by TX3, number 14 of Quintin Dalomo, trying to use a little bit of that fresh rubber on the outside to cut into the dirt and get the drive off the corner. Dalomo sweeps on through, but Blewett able to hold off the challenge of Josh Fox. For the rookies, I feel like this is actually maybe the toughest challenge this season, Josh, because they will have spent so much of their effort on learning the Pro 4 and getting the most out of it, whereas a lot of the drivers that were locked into the series by virtue of their championship spot at the end of 2022 will have had the opportunity to go and do whatever sorts of driving they want and potentially come and figure this car out.
Well, now hang on, Arjuna, because those rookies, how did they qualify for the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series? It was the qualifying series that was in these Pro 2s. So they had to learn these trucks before they got into the World Championship, as Connor Berry grabs the race lead from Keaton Swain. I think not necessarily an advantage for the rookies, but I wouldn't count it as much of a disadvantage either.
Maybe I was under the wrong impression. I thought they used the Pro 4 for the qualifying series. Maybe that was just last year. Tyson Miller's dropping down the timing on the left side of your screen, and maybe you can blame us for the commentator's curse there. We were saying what a nice run he was having. He's down in 14th now.
Unfortunate for Tyson Miller and Terry Miller as well, as they both are 13th and 14th on the track right now. But interesting to note, Arjuna, nobody has retired from this race yet. Still all 16 who started on the land rush are running here, halfway done with this race as we look at the replay of how Connor Berry ended up getting that race lead. Not exactly the slider that Josh Edmondson put, but it was a little bit of contact that put the 2 machine on 2 wheels.
It's a bit awkward in a lot of ways on the exit between the 2 of them, and 2 drivers that we know have battled plenty, will continue to battle plenty, as always, continue to put on a show for us. Halfway through this one, track evolution. I don't know if we've necessarily talked too much about it when it comes to the Pro 2 trucks versus Pro 4s and what that means for 2-wheel versus 4-wheel drive.
I'm loving the racing I'm seeing in these Pro 2s. It's just so different than what we see in the Pro 4s. And you might think, 2-wheel drive versus 4, okay, they still got the same horsepower, but can't be that different, right? These trucks race completely different. The Pro 2s, the top level of the normal ladder, is the Pro 2s. Then you go down into the Pro 4s in Class C racing. Pro 2s are Class B on the service. So you have to graduate up to these Pro 2s. They race so differently, and I'm loving the racing that I'm seeing in these Pro 2s, because it seems like, I think the exhibition is also getting to these drivers a little bit, Arjuna, because they're not afraid to get the sends, really learn how these trucks work against these drivers.
And I feel like we're seeing a lot of drivers being able to experiment out a little bit more. And the fact that this is not a points-paying race means that they can go out there and just have some fun, relieve themselves of the championship pressure. But ultimately, they're all racing drivers. The competitive urge will end up coming down on them. And I know there are some drivers that had developed setups and started to understand what they wanted the truck to do. However, today, we are racing with fixed setups. Everybody's got the same truck. Unfortunately there for Connor Parisi as they concertine it up through Calamity Corner. He got tagged and spun down to 14th spot.
Unfortunate for Connor Parisi, who has had bad luck in the points-paying races as well, and unfortunately that is going to carry over into the second race of the exhibition night here from Crandon. Swain has a mirror full of Killian DeLolmo behind him, and with Josh Edmondson being 1.1 seconds down the road, I wouldn't put it past him to catch up to these leaders, but they're going to need to start bumping and banging a little bit more as we look back on board with Killian DeLolmo as he dives it into turn 1.
Yeah, but we don't ride on board from the GoPro perspective. So that's the thing that Killian DeLolmo we ask for.
Unfortunate.
For the second half of the championship season, because it'll be a really great perspective to see what they are actually doing behind the wheel. The hand movements, where the heads are rolling in terms of moving with the force feedback, making sure that eyes are pointed towards the apexes of all the corners. Such an interesting insight that you could really glean from these drivers. Keaton Swain starting to struggle though, and DeLolmo, like you said, putting the pressure on, but not able to get him through as Barry starts to stretch his legs, coming to 4 laps to go. Swain gets all sorts of loose out on the jump. Edmondson's going to get up to 3rd, but somehow Swain's still going in a straight line.
Goes so far out wide, I thought he was going to start racing around Wild Horse Pass. That'll move Josh Edmondson into 3rd. He's still got a long way to go. He's got like 2 seconds to try and gain up to first Killian DeLolmo. He's got to gain a second up to him. Then he's got to gain 1 second up to Connor Barry. This is going to be challenging for Edmondson if he wants to make it 2 wins in a single night, which we haven't seen in a good long while in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series.
No, I'm trying to think back to when the last time we've seen that, and I don't actually think we've been able to see that when it comes to the Off-Road Championship. We've definitely seen it in the All-Stars with their full invert madness, but I'll have to go back into the books and figure that one out. The good thing is we do actually have stats with which we track it. One thing that I mentioned earlier, right, was Keaton Swain and Connor Barry and their consistency in being up towards the front. One thing that Keaton Swain struck me in the stats, Josh, is that hard charger, the total number of positions lost and gained over the course of a driver's history, Keaton Swain is 14. Connor Barry is 42. That is a drastic difference.
And it just goes to show how much difference we've had really in these championship contenders. Because last year, it was Keaton Swain getting all of those wins. He had more wins than Connor Barry. Then just the results in between those weren't good enough to get the win in the championship. Could this be a different season for Keaton Swain? We talk about using this exhibition race as an opportunity to turn a season around. Swain doesn't really need his season turned around. If anything, he just needs a little bit more of a confidence boost, I think, for the last 4 rounds, because he has gone from a pretty substantial lead to now only 2 points, 1 on-track position in front of Connor Barry in the points chase.
He does not look like he's enjoying the drive of the Pro 2 right now. He hit the wall several times out of turn number 2. You can see the look of focus on his face. Just got 1 more lap with which to navigate around the shortened configuration of the Crandon International Raceway as Connor Barry leads us across the line and onto the final lap of our All-Star Week.
Connor Barry, the dominating force in Pro 4s. Is gonna be a winner in Pro 2s if he makes it through the last couple of corners. What a season Connor Barry has had so far. Not quite the best start that I think he was looking for, but talk about anybody turning a season around in this exhibition race at the halfway point. Why not Connor Barry gonna dominate the last 4 rounds?
Connor Barry has averaged a finish of 4th so far in this championship. But when the stakes are so high, that is only being good enough for him to be 2nd in the championship. He will come across the line to win the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Week. Race number 2, the champ shows why he's one of our All-Stars.
That was the race that he needed to have, and he gets to celebrate a little bit now. Something he hasn't gotten to do too much so far in his iRacing Off-Road Championship Series campaign, even with having last year's championship. Wins have not been plentiful for Connor Barry, and he gets one tonight, an exhibition night.
Not a win so far in the championship in 2023, but is this the turning point, the impetus for him to be able to make his way into victory lane? There's a bit of a shot. Josh Edmondson, Killian Del Lomo, and Connor Barry, the podium sitters, all grabbing a quick photo there, and we'll grab a look at the race results. 1.5 seconds the margin as Killian Del Lomo is able to grab 2nd in front of Josh Edmondson, who, after winning race number 1, able to get a double podium, will be thrilled about how things went in the Pro 2. Keaton Swain comes 4th at the end in front of Christopher Plumley, Quinton Del Lomo, and then Josh Fox, while Joe Blewett, Trenton Browley, and Justin Kay should be through the top 10. You've got Nicholas Dachelet, who won at Crandon earlier this year, back in 11th with Terry Miller, Tyson Miller, 12th and 13th, Connor Parisi, Crystal King, and Jarrett Liebert round out the 16 trucks that we saw out here for the iRacing All-Star Week. It is time for us then to hopefully be able to grab a chat with a couple of our different drivers, and let's not dawdle around. Let's see if we can dial up Connor Barry in that Nitro Circus Sim Racing number 1. And Connor, talk us through this Pro 2 truck. It's probably something that's a lot more familiar to what you drive out there in the real world.
Oh yeah, it definitely was a lot of fun. My goal here was just to go out there and have some fun. I practiced some and my speed was bad, so I was like, shoot, like I am not going to be too fast. And then in qualifying, we got first. That was my best lap I've done in probably since 2022, because the first 4 rounds I've basically been struggling, so I'm glad that I finally was able to put down a pretty good time, and we went first. So it was definitely good. I'm glad that we are back on top. We also got Josh in first inside the first one, so we just absolutely swept it all, and we basically we spanked them.
I like the fact that you say that you've not had a great start to the season, but that's what a champ has to do, right? Even when it's not been easy, you've got to make sure you're up and towards the front. 2 points split you and Keaton Swain. You've been able to finish inside of the top 6 in every race so far in the points-paying races. What do you think you're going to be focusing on the second half of the season as we return to the tracks as you try and defend your championship?
I mean, ultimately, I need to go out there. I need to qualify good. Wild Horse, I qualified 4th, which was good, and then the first race we got put into defense, so all of that was gone. So I definitely think that I need to probably qualify good, but I need to get a win. It's been a very hard start. As much as it seems good, it's been rough. So I mean, I think our speed I think it is good, but we need to go find some more speed. But I think tonight was a good confidence thing. So I'm back, and I think that we can go out there and win these 4 coming up.
The champ is back, and the attitude seems like it's back as well. Congratulations, Connor, on a great day for the Nitro Circus Sim Racing team. We'll see you in a week's time to roll on with the championship.
Sounds good.
Always great to chat with one Nitro Circus Sim Racing driver. Why don't we do the same with another? Josh Edmondson finally able to grab some success and a victory in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. And Josh, it came in a car when you and I talked at the start of 2022, before this championship even begun. You said you wanted the championship to be in the Pro 2 because you thought you'd be quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the Pro 2. I don't think it's any secret. I just love, it takes a little more skill to drive, being only rear-wheel drive. And it's just a blast to run side by side with the guys. The way the trucks slide in the corners, it's so much fun. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Pro 2.
Let's talk about the livery for that car, because it looks like some new sponsors for the Nitro Circus Sim Racing team, and a rather interesting one at that.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be representing the team, Nitro Circus, of course, but also Nitro Cross along with that. And got the next round coming up next weekend in Utah, and it's awesome. We've got another one in Arizona. I think we're all going to try and get the boys together and go to. And I've been to one other Nitro Circus or Nitro Cross before in ERX, and it's awesome live. So yeah, excited to be representing those guys, and stoked to go to another race of theirs.
Thanks for joining us as always, Josh. Congratulations on the first victory, and hopefully it's the start of something better in the second half of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I just got to shout out everybody on the team: Nitro Circus, Sim Racing, NLR, Pimax VR, and Chris Leone. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't even have this championship or off-road. So thanks everybody else.
Always great to chat with Josh Edmondson, and that's going to wrap up our post-race coverage here of our All-Star Week. Josh, we knew this was going to be a bit light for the drivers. The opportunity to put the championship to one side and to focus on just having some success and some fun in this Pro 2 truck. But now, 4 consecutive weeks to crown the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series champion.
You thought the first 4 weeks were exciting for the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. You have seen nothing until these drivers really start focusing on those points and they get points racing. We'll be watching that championship like hawks for the last 4 rounds. We'll come back to Crandon in the long configuration to crown a champion, but Arjuna, we've got one more visit to each of the tracks we've already visited left on the calendar, and 2 points, 1 on-track position separating the top 2. I'm ready for the final 4 rounds and ready to crown a champion again.
I was so excited for this week that I made sure I was part of the broadcast even halfway around the world. I'm so excited that next week I'll be back home and ready to jump into the championship deciding rounds. Wild West going to be the first of the 4 rounds that we'll work through in August to crown a champion. And of course, that's one of the shorter tracks, always very chaotic, that supercross, motocross style of racing. It's time for us to say goodbye for now, though. A lot of fun was had here with our All-Star Week. Don't forget, if you are sticking around on the iRacing Esports Network, we've got some action coming up from you. They're almost 100 laps into the Firecracker 400 live on eracer.gg. Landon Castle and Parker Killigan's fan favorite event is currently being led by Malik Ray with Casey Kerwin and Seth DeMerchant in third. That will be live here in just a few moments' time. We'll be back in a week's time, but for now, for the team at RaceBot, for Hugo Luis behind the scenes, for Josh Lee and myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you for joining us for some fun. The championship is going to be decided in August. Join us for the ride.